a small brown mouse scurrying across a dimly lit kitchen floor. By every law of nature, it should be terrified. A house cat is sleeping just a few feet away. But this mouse doesn't run, it doesn't hide. Instead, it walks directly toward the scent of the cat. It isn't sick. It isn't injured. It is acting on a profound suicidal impulse that defies millions of years of evolutionary survival instincts. Why? The explanation begins much earlier, inside a microscopic organism that has quietly infiltrated the brain of this tiny rodent. Toxoplasma gondii is a single-celled parasite, and its survival depends on a very specific real estate, the stomach of a cat. It is the only place on Earth where this parasite can reproduce. But Toxoplasma doesn't start its life in a cat. It usually begins in a mouse. And to complete its life cycle, it needs to get from the mouse back into the cat. So, it evolved a trick. When a mouse ingests the parasite, typically from cat feces in the soil, the organism travels through the bloodstream and breaches the blood-brain barrier. It doesn't just sit there. It forms tiny cysts throughout the mouse's brain, specifically clustering in the amygdala, the region responsible for processing fear and emotion. The mouse undergoes a profound psychological rewrite. The scent of cat urine, which should trigger paralyzing terror, suddenly triggers something entirely different: curiosity and even sexual attraction. The mouse actively seeks out the cat. It becomes easy prey. The parasite gets its wish. The cat eats the mouse, and the cycle begins anew. But something even stranger happened when researchers looked past the mice. Toxoplasma, it turns out, is not picky. It will happily infect almost any warm-blooded animal: birds, hyenas, sea otters, and even humans. In fact, right now an estimated 2 billion people on Earth are carrying this parasite in their brains. You might have it. You can contract it from handling raw meat, eating unwashed vegetables, or cleaning out a litter box. For decades, the medical community viewed this as a harmless quirk of human biology. In people with healthy immune systems, the parasite simply goes dormant, hiding in its cysts, doing absolutely nothing. In the 1990s, scientists began to notice a statistical shadow. People infected with Toxoplasma seemed to have slight yet measurable differences in their behavior. Men infected with the parasite showed a tendency toward greater suspicion and a disregard for rules. Infected women, on the other hand, showed slightly higher levels of warmth and self-assurance. As researchers dug deeper, they found links between Toxoplasma infection and increased risks of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and even a higher likelihood of being involved in traffic accidents. The parasite, it seemed, was not entirely dormant in the human brain. It was still pulling strings. Here is where the story takes a turn. When experts look at this data, the scientific community fractures. Some researchers believe the parasite actively alters human neurotransmitters, much like it does in mice, by increasing the production of dopamine, a chemical deeply involved in reward, motivation, and psychosis. Others argue the evidence is flimsy, suggesting that the behavioral changes are mere side effects of a low-level chronic inflammation in the brain. They point out that correlation is not causation. To understand the truth, you have to look at what the parasite is actually doing. It isn't trying to control humans. We are a dead-end host. The parasite cannot get from a human back into a cat. Any effect it has on us is purely accidental. It is treating our complex human minds with the exact same chemical hijacking it uses for a simple field mouse. The human brain, for all its brilliance, runs on the same ancient biological software as a rodent's. The surprising part came later, when evolutionary biologists started looking at the broader picture. They realized that Toxoplasma isn't just a medical anomaly. It is a silent driver of human culture. In regions where the infection rate is high, often places with large stray cat populations or diets heavy on raw meat, the baseline personality traits of the entire population shift, just a fraction. Some researchers have even theorized that it subtly influences cultural attitudes toward risk, novelty, and authority. Imagine walking through your daily life. You choose your clothes, you pick your meals, you make your decisions, fully believing you are the sole author of your actions. But what if some of your quiet impulses, your sudden bravery, your unexplained anxieties, your fleeting attractions, were shaped by a microscopic passenger that evolved to feed cats? We like to believe our thoughts are entirely our own. We draw a hard line between our bodies and the outside world. But nature doesn't recognize that border. We are ecosystems. Our minds are landscapes shared with organisms that have their own evolutionary agendas. The parasite doesn't know it is in a human. It doesn't know it is in a mouse. And in its blind, relentless drive to return to the belly of a cat, it leaves a faint, invisible mark on the tapestry of human behavior. It forces us to ask a deeply unsettling question. If a single-celled organism can rewrite the instincts of a mouse and accidentally touch the edges of human culture, how much of who we are is truly our own?